can go. Oh, this is just, it's okay. We're good? They're on?
We're live.
They're on? The Kabur is on? Yeah. Okay, Gavaldik. Welcome. Okay, Shalom Aleichem, Shkoyek for, I guess, welcome me once again. It's a Vad. It's a little shorter than what we've been doing till now, a couple of times. I figure we'll make it smaller segments. The downside is that you don't get to the end in one session, in one Vad. But it's a building up, it's building blocks. We're going to have to lay down some Yisaitis, and then over a couple of 3-4 Vadim, we'll be able to see a whole different picture. We're going to focus on the Indian of Shabbos. We mentioned on Shabbos that this year is a time based on the Minchas Ani to be Makazik in the Indian of Shabbos. And hopefully we'll get a better understanding about Shabbos, the Bechinas of Shabbos, and hopefully we'll get a better understanding of what our role is vis-a-vis Shabbos. We know that in the Luchas, in Parshas Yisro, it says, Zoches Yom Shabbos L'Kadashai. And later on, in Mishnah Torah, it says Shomer. So here it says Zocher, and over there it says Shomer. And Rashi already brings it out, and Rashi says over here in Parshas Yisro, Zocher v'Shomer b'diba echad nemru. Kadosh Baruch Hu said both Zocher and Shomer in one word, b'diba echad nemru. And Rashi gives a number of examples where you find in the Torah this b'diba echad nemru. Rashi says, "V'chein." An example is mechalalel moisiu mas. If anyone's mechal Shabbos gets misa, yet ubiyem Shabbos shnei kvasim. They brought kabbanis on Shabbos, so that should be a malacha, should be chayv misa. V'chein. Another example, l'suba shatnez. You're not allowed to wear shatnez. Yet it says in the pasuk, "Gedilam tasalacha." You're allowed to make tzitzis out of shatnez. Another example, v'chein evres eishes echicha yavam yavar. On one hand, you're not allowed to marry a sister-in-law, but yet, when it comes to Yibum, we do marry sisters-in-law. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu could say two things that seemingly are different, and yet both are true. It's emes, both are true, both are correct. And Chazal will be magdir when we have Yibum, when we don't have Yibum. Chazal magdir when we're allowed to be Mekal Shabbos, when we're not. V'kulu v'kulu. Anyone who read this Rashi, I think the Rashi is Merafs and Igra. I have this problem, like every year we read the Rashi, I'm sure the Olam had the same problem. Every single example that Rashi gives is Taka Stira. You're now allowed to do Malach on Shabbos, but if you bring Kabbanis, you bring Mechalo Shabbos. You're now allowed to wear Shatnez, but if you have tzitzis, you can wear Shatnez. You're now allowed to have Ishus with a sister-in-law, but when it comes to Yibam, you're allowed. It's very good. So it's a stira, and yet, they both are true. But when it comes to Zocher v'Shama, what's the stira? What's the problem? Because Baruch was mitzvah to be Zocher Yom Shabbos, and the same Rebbeinu Shalom was mitzvah to be Shomer Yom Shabbos. What's the problem? Why can't you have a Zocher Yom Shabbos and a Shomer Yom Shabbos? And where's the stira? There is no stira. So what's the b'di be'echad nemru? What is going on? So that's what I would like to focus on to explain, perhaps, what's going on in Rashi in a deeper level. But let's first take the Ramban. The Ramban already touches on this, at what's pshat, where's the stira here, so to speak, what's the b'di be'echad nemru, what's the emphasis of Chazal. And the Ramban says that because Zocher is a mitzvah asay, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvah that we have to remember the Yom HaShabbos and not forget it, okay? And Shomer is a mitzvah slice asay. As we know, the Gemara Nerevin Tzadivov. So you see that even though in Parshas Yisro the focus on Shabbos was b'Torah's mitzvahs asay, and in Mishnah Torah the focus on Shabbos is a lois asay, so l'chayra that is like a stira. It's not proper for Moshe Rabbeinu to swap out the mitzvahs asay of Shabbos and replace it with a mitzvahs lois asay. That's what Ramban says is the problem here, that Moshe Rabbeinu went and he changed a mitzvah asay into a mitzvah lois asay. He went from a zacha to a shomer. So it means even though it's not really a stira one another, But still, it's not right that he should do that. We're talking about a mitzvah aseh of zachar, and all of a sudden it comes to mishatari. Now he's talking about a lois aseh. But I would like to take it to a deeper level, what L'chayr Pshat and Rashi is, and it's really ishtika marumas like that. And the rest of the Ramban, you can look there in the Ramban. But we try to bring it down to us laymen to understand what's going on. Where's the stira between zachar and shama? The Gemara Baba Basra Ein Dalet Amid Bey says, Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'ilamai zachu nekeva baram. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in this world was male and female. Every single one. Every single nivra in the world is either a zachar or a nekeva. Now the Gemara says everything. Kol ma shebara. Kol ma shebara means not just humans, that we understand. There's zacharim and there are nekevas. Kol ma shebara. That means the entire animal kingdom, the behemoths, the chayes, the oifis, the dogim, the shratzim, the shkatzim, and masim. Everything was zachu nekeva baram. But it's not just the animals. It's even the tzemeach. Tzemeach, there are those that are zacharim. You have a plum tree, a zachu plum tree, and a nekeva plum tree. You have zacharim, you have zachu, nekeva in everything. Not just in humans, not just in chayes, not just in tzaimchim, but even in doimimim. Things that don't have any, what we say, life to it. A doimim is also either a zachar or a nekeva. It's either one or the other. Everything, kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'ilamai, is zachar and nekeva baram. Now, how do we have that in doimimim we could have a zachar and nekeva? What does that mean? So the Sfarim say that everything in the world is either a mashpia or a makabel. Either it's mashpia on others, and in which case it's a zachar, or it's makabel from others, in which case it's a nekeva. The essence of the item, depending what it is, both either in terms of its madrega, if it's a high madrega, it's a zachar, or in terms of what its pu'ula is. If its pu'ula is to influence something else, then it's a zachar. If it's to receive influence, then it's a nekeva. And other terminology is what we call as chayma and surah. Chayma is the base, chayma is the ingredients, the raw materials, and then what gives it its tzura, that is the zachar. The zachar gives the nekeva its tzura. The zachar shapes the chaymer. So what's chaymer is a nekeva, and what gives the tzura is a zachar. But everything in the world is zachar and nekeva. And I'll give you an example. You have a har is a zachar. A giva is a nekeva. And it's throughout like that. We enjoy, Lashon HaKodesh is rich with Zachu Nekeva. When we get into the other languages like English, there's no differentiation between Zachu and Nekeva. A table, is it a Zachu and Nekeva? I don't know, I have no idea. In English, there's no distinction. It's both. There's nothing. It's nothing. There is no Zachu and Nekeva. But in Lashon HaKodesh, everything is either a Zachar or a Nekeva. Either it's a Mashpia or it's a Makabel. Either it's a poyel or it's a mispoel. Different lashonis. Either gives tzura or it's a chayma. But everything in the world is either zachar or nekeva. One of the reasons why it's called Lashon HaKodesh is the KEDUSHA is because it's mavdo between zacharim and nekevas. But it's everything in the world is either zachar or nekeva. And this zachar nekeva, like I mentioned, is either from one species to the next species, or within its own species, that part of it that's mashbia is a zachar, that part that receives is a makabel, is a nekeva. Like in the human race, you have zakarim and nekevas, we're both humans, but that whose mashbia is a zachar, that's makabel is a nekeva. The zacharim and nekevas, because they work in tandem, that the zachar is mashbia on the nekeva, so it becomes a zug, it becomes a partnership, it becomes a couple. Every couple, every marriage has a zachar and a nekeva, except in America. But everywhere else, it's a zachar and a nekeva. You have a zachar who's a mashpia and a nekeva who's a makabel. When they work in tandem, they make a partnership, they make a zug, and that's a spitz. They work in tandem. That means they're creating a new compound called a Zachor and Nekeva. But that's how it is. It's all over. When they work in tandem, they end up creating Paris as well. They function together and they have tolodas. So by the humans or by the animals, Zachor and Nekeva, by the Tzimkim, they work together, they make toldas, they make Paris. That's Zachor and Nekeva. That's Ikka, a Mashbiya is the Zachor, that's Ikka, a Makabel is a Nekeva. Let's give an example from Doimamim. A classic example, Shemayim va'aretz. In Lashon HaKodesh, Shemayim is the Lashon Zachor, and Aretz is Lashon Nekeva. And the reason is because Shemayim is Mashbiya, and the Aretz is a Makabel. Shemayim rains, comes down, irrigates the land is the Makabel. Together, they create Paris, they produce fruit, they produce produce. That's what they do together. When they work in tandem together, they create Paris. But the Shemayim is a Zachor, and the land is a Nekeva. And we find that throughout Chazal, that we refer to Shemayim v'aretz as a Zachor and Nekeva, as a pair, as a couple. For example, you have the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, the famous story where they chapped Rabbi Elazar ben Prata and Rechanina ben Tradian, and they brought Rabbi Elazar ben Prata, and they were going to possibly sentence him to death, and they tested him, and he said, no, he's a Rabbi Shel Tasim, I'm not really a Rebbe, I'm a Rabbi Shel Tasim, and they tested him, which is the Shesi and which is the Orev, and he had no idea because he really doesn't work with materials, he's not a garment maker, he just told them he's a Rabbi Shel Tasim, so they tested him, and it ended up, the Gemara says, that came along, Kadosh Baruch Hu made a nace, that a Ziburisa, a female Ziboris, sat on the Shasi, and a male, a Zubura, sat on the Orev, and he chapped, that must be that this is the Orev and that is the Shasi. And the reason is because that's Zok Rashi, that Zibur is a Zachor, it sat on the Orev, because Asi Zibur, and the Zibur is Nekev, sat on the Shasi. From there he understood, Shashesi Mekabel Orev, Kinekeva HaMekabel is from the Zachor. So in the world of garments, a Shasi and an Orev is also a Nekeva with a Zachor. If you receive, then you're a Nekeva. If you're Mashbiya, you're a Zachor. Specifically, when it comes to Shemayim v'aretz, the Gemara in Tainus says that Vava Mebeis, Amra Bavoy Mai Lashon Reviyah, we say Lashon Reviyah by rain, Dava Shiravees HaKarka, Kid Rabbi Yehuda, Dam Rabbi Yehuda, Mitra Ba'alo Da'ara. The Mitra is like the husband of the ground. Shenemiki Kasha Yerid Ageshem V'Ashelik Min HaShemayim, V'Shama Lo Yoshuv, Ki Im Hirves Haaretz V'Lido V'Tzmicha. So here you have the Shemayim sending down the rain is the Zachor, and the ground is the Nekeva. So Shemayim v'aretz is Zachor and Nekeva. When they work together as a couple, they produce Paris. And that's every Nivra is either Zachor and Nekeva. When they work together, they produce something. They produce Toldos. The Maral in the Sivas Olam, in the Siva Amunah Perek Aleph, says that Shemayim v'aretz is like Zachor and Nekeva, Shazachor Mashbiyah, and Nekeva Bekabelis. And therefore Shemayim is Mashbiyah on the Aretz. And there's many rayas like this. We find so many dugmayis in throughout Lashon HaKodesh like that there's a Zachor and a Nekeva, and the Zachor is Mashbiyah in the Nekeva. The Ramchal, in his Maimar Chochma, the Ramchal says that the Klal Abriya is Meschalekes L'Shnaim. If you had to divide and categorize the entire Briya, you could divide into two, Zachor and Nekeva. And what he calls is Ma'ala Umata, what's above and what's below. And he says, the Ma'ala, whatever is above is Klal HaMashbiyim, whatever is below is Klal HaMekablim, and he touches up Aleinu, and that's what we say in Aleinu, Shu Noita Shemayim, which is Ma'ala, V'Yoseid Aretz, which is Mata, because Shemayim and Aretz is the classic example of Zachor and Nekeva. And as we know in Hilchos Zivug as well, the Zachor and Nekeva, the Zachor is L'mayla and the Nekeva is L'mata. That's how it is. The Zachor is always L'mayla and the Nekeva is L'mata. So that's what comes out from the entire Bria. So now Rabbi say, I want to ask you a shayla. So what is Shabbos? Is Shabbos a Zachor or Shabbos a Nekeva? Everything is either a Zachor or Nekeva. So is Shabbos a Zachor or Shabbos a Nekeva? That's the shayla. So to give a Hagdama to better understand what Shabbos is the Maral lays down, Gewaltike Yisai, the mitzvah saseh, mitzvah loy saseh. And Maral says like this, the purpose of all mitzvah sasehs and mitzvah loy sasehs, they have different purposes. The mitzvah sasehs is to be mashbiya, to be lazakis es ha'odam, is to be able to be koina nitzchiyas, and the way to do it is through mitzvah saseh. How do you do that? When your person is Mekayim mitzvah saseh, he adds more kedusha, he makes himself better and better and better, and Mameli has greater chelik lo'olam haba. The mitzvah loy saseh is not that at all. So the Maharal, mitzvah loy saseh has a totally different purpose. Mitzvah loy saseh says HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person, Yosha, to be able to be that clay kibul, to be mekabel, lasad lavid, the tainag ha'asid. If a person goes off, deviates from what he was created for, he messes up the kli. So he can't be a makabel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want that kli to be messed up, so therefore he instructed us with all the loy saseh, because every loy saseh, if a person violates a loy saseh, he destroys, he messes up the kli. He punctures a hole in the kli. After a few more holes, nothing, the kli can't hold anything. But every time he violates a loy saseh, he makes a hole. And that hole loses the clay kibul. So the loy saseh is to preserve the kli, to make sure you can be makabel. Mashenking, the aseis is nothing to do with the kli. The aseis is to have tesefes kedusha more and more chalakim lasad lavei, to be nenem miziv hashkina more and more. But the loy saseh is just to preserve that you're able to connect to be nenem b'chlal. Otherwise, you're not a clay kibul, you're not aligned with the Baruch Shem, you can't connect at all. Two different things. The asei are to be mashpia of tesefes kedusha, and the loy saseh is to preserve that you should be able to be a makabel. So what you see in the Maral, which is Pashit and it's Yedua, is that the mitzvahs asehs are mashpiyim, and the mitzvahs loy saseh is to preserve the clay kibul. They're the makablim. In other words, the mitzvahs asehs are bechinas zachar, and the mitzvahs loy saseh is bechinas nekeva. One is to be mashpiyah, the asayis is a zakah to be mashpiyah to sefes, and the loisa says is to make sure the clay kibul is there, you got a good clay kibul, is to be makabel. And that is why some of the Svarim say that we find that even though Nashim are mitzvahs and mitzvahs, but they're not mitzvahs and mitzvahs asay shazman grama, because the Nashim are nekevis. So nekevis are more shaykh to loisa says. A zachar is shaykh to asayis. But nekeva, that's being mashpiyah, but nekevis are being makabel, so they're more shaykh to loisa says rather than asayis. So asayis b'der klal is bechinas zachar, and loisa says b'der klal is bechinas nekeva. All right. So having said that, now let's try to understand Shabbos. So what is Shabbos, Rabbi Yisai? Well, that depends what part of Shabbos. If we're talking about Zocher's Yom Shabbos Lakatshoy, so that's a Bechinas Mitzvahs Asay, so it's a Bechinas Zocher. If it's Shomer, it's a Shabbos. If it's Shomer, it's a Bechinas Lois Asay, so then it's a Bechinas Nekeva. So you want to know what Shabbos is? Shabbos is unique that has both elements. It's dual. It's a Zocher and a Keva simultaneously. The Zocher is Yom Shabbos, it's Bechinas Zocher, it's Mitzvah Sasei, and Shomer is a Yom Shabbos Lakatshoy, it's Bechinas Nekeva, it's Bechinas Lois Sasei. And it's Mekabelis, and as Zayzot Chazal in many places, the Sefer Bor and the Zoyar. Zocher is la Zocher, that's a Lashon HaZoyar. V'Shama is la Kala, and Shama is for the Nekeva, for the Kala. It's in the Zoyar numerous places. Zocher l'dechura, Shama l'nukva. Memela, it comes out that really Shabbos has both bechinas. And now you can understand the Rabbeinu Bachai. Rabbeinu Bachai says on this pasuk, Zocher Yom Shabbos Lakatshoy, Zocher Rabbeinu Bachai, Zocher is gematria how much? Zocher is gematria 233. Yom HaShabbos, Rosh Tevet is Yud and Hey, is 248. Zocher's Yom HaShabbos, Zocher Rabbeinu Bachai, that's gematria Resh Mem Ches, 248 mitzvahs asay, because the Zocher represents the mitzvahs asays. Kumtois Rabbi Yisai, just to be Messiah, Kumtois that Shabbos is unique, that has both Bechinas Zachar and the Bechinas Nekeva. Even though Kama Shabara Kash Baruch Ba'ilama is Zachar Nekeva Baram, Shabbos is a Yoitzim and a cloud that Shabbos is both Zachar and Nekeva. Now, this is in the Rashi L'Chaira and Chazal. When Chazal say that Zachar v'Shama b'di be'achanamra, we started off with where's the stira? What's the problem? Have Zachar v'Shama both at simultaneously. What is the problem? The problem is what is Shabbos? Is Shabbos a Zachar? So Netzachas Yom Shabbos Kacho. Is Shabbos is Nekeva, so Netzomer. But what's prat that it's both a Zachar and a Nekeva? What does that mean? It's an androgynous. What does that mean that it's both a Zachar and a Nekeva? What does that mean? That's the problem. There's a steer going on. Is it a Zachar and a Nekeva? And then that's Chazal telling us, yes, Shabbos is taki unique, but it's b'di be'echenemro. It's both are true. And that's just like the other examples that you could have steers, like by Shatnez and Klaim, and even by a sister-in-law, and Kahakrovitz Kabbanis and Shabbos, you could have also this stira between Zachar and Shomer. Shabbos is both b'di be'echenemro. That Zachar is Yom Shabbos and Shomer, and that both are true. Shabbos is unique, that Shabbos has both bechinas. All right. This is part one. There are going to be a few parts, but you have to remember this, that Shabbos is unique. It's both Zachar and a Nekeva. Zachar and Shomer. And from there, we'll build on that, and we'll get to understand better what Shabbos is all about, and the different parts of Shabbos, the Leil Shabbos, the Yom Shabbos, what the role that Shabbos plays in our lives, and what the role we're supposed to be playing in Shabbos' lives. All right. Shkoyek for listening. Every loy says, hey, it could be not a stira, because loy says are nekevis, and says are zalkas, but it's not a stira. It's not a stira. Here we have a one in Shabbos that has both. Sorry? What's the loy say? Yeah, but usually those things that are, those things that are loy says are usually different aspects of an item. Mashenking here, it's l'chayra. We're talking about one Shabbos. We're going to see it might be broken down. We'll get to it, but it's one.